pot pumpkins. Pinch pot pumpkins. That's our, oh, I have it on my page. You guys weren't supposed to see this yet. That's fine. So your starter needs to say pinch pot pumpkins. Hi.
Sorry, can I shoot something?
You're good, no worries. You guys, this was my pinch pot pumpkin that I made when I was in 5th period in 9th grade here. So I brought it so you guys can see it because my mom found it and she's like, you gotta show that. So that's mine. So after you write pinch pot pumpkins, as you can see under develop craft, we're writing a couple descriptions and some definitions. You're writing pinch, which, as you guessed it, pinch pots contain mostly pinching. So that means you're compressing the clay between your fingers and your thumb. Your second one you're writing is wedging. So wedging is just like when you're making bread. How many of you guys have ever made bread before or seen your family make bread? So when you make bread, have you ever seen them kneading the dough? So when we knead dough, we're actually incorporating air into that dough. When we wedge clay, it's the same kind of motion, but we're pushing air bubbles out. What happens if we get air bubbles in our clay? They explode in the kiln, right? So we want to get all those air bubbles out. So kneading the clay to eliminate air and make the clay even and consistent. That's wedging. You guys, today we will be learning how to wedge our clay, and then we'll be making a pinch pot for our pumpkins. Woo-hoo. Once you have written those down, I need everybody to make, you see these cute little drawings up here? I need everybody to copy those little drawings at the top of yours. You need a starter paper? They're over by the wire basket. So do your little doodles. That will show you our pinch pot throughout the process of pinching the pot. When you finish your little doodles, you can go ahead and put your paper back in your folder. For today, you will not need your folders the rest of the day, so when we break out to go get our tools, which is not yet, don't move, you can go ahead and put that away. The other thing, who are my floor people? Who has floor? Raise your hand. If you are supposed to clean the floor, raise your hand, please. Okay, my floor people, your job today at the start of class, usually you get like kind of a break, you don't have to do anything. Today, you will come back here and you will grab a ball of clay for each person sitting at your table, okay? So, when I say go, our floor people are coming to grab clay, everybody else is getting their tools and everything they need for clay. When you get your ball of clay sitting at your table, do not touch it. Don't poke it, don't squish it, put it on your board, leave it alone, okay? Okay, everybody go. My people that picked up the clay, my floor people, what did you guys notice about this clay? Was it super mushy and soft? No? Yes, it was. Yeah, Paige? Exactly. It's really, really sticky and soft, right? So this clay, the reason that we need to wedge it is because this is recycled clay. Do you guys remember yesterday when you gave me all your dry pieces of crumbly clay and we put them in a bag? Yeah. This is that bag now. So this bag of clay right here was all of your dry pieces of clay. We put some water in there and overnight it started to soften. So this is how we recycle clay and we can reuse it. So your clay that you have on your tables was that. It's just dried out a little bit. But it's still not as dry as we want it. So that's why we need to wedge. And we also need to wedge because why? What does wedging do?
Gets the air out.
Gets the air out. Perfect. So what I need you guys to do, hand check. Jazz hands. Hey, thank you. So I'm going to do that a bunch today. We're going to go pretty slow, but I want you guys to stay with me. Don't try to speed ahead of me. That'll cause you lots of problems further down in the future, okay? So for right now, you're just watching. I'm going to show you how we're going to wedge our clay. So I've got my ball of clay. On my board, I'm going to take my hands, and we're going to use these parts of our hands. So this is kind of the heel of your hands. This you can show me. Put your hands up, take your thumbs, and stick them together. So this part of our hands is what we're going to be using to wedge our clay, okay? So my hands are together. I'm going to take my hands and push this clay down and away from me. So I'm locking my elbows. You're not doing this yet? locking my elbows, pushing it away from me. After I do that, I'm not pushing it so flat against my board that there's no, that I can touch my canvas board through my clay, okay? You see how there's a little bit of thickness still left in my clay? It kind of makes like a, I don't know, kind of looks like a bicycle seat almost to me, a little bit. You can see like where my hands were. Now I want you guys to go ahead and do that. Hands together, push your clay down and away from you. Down and away. Very nice. Yeah, you can stand up. I like to stand when I wedge. For right now, when I show you things, I want you guys to sit down so everybody behind you can see. If you're at the back row, you can stand up. Okay, everybody, once you have pushed your clay down and away from you, hands up. Good. After I've done that, I'm going to grab my clay from this thick part that I just pushed away from me and pull it towards me so it's up on its end like this. Does that make sense? So I'm going to show you on my hand. So I pulled it towards me so it's standing up like this. Standing up. Then what I'm going to do is the same motion. I'm going to push it down and away from me. Then I'm going to pull it back up on its end and do the same thing, down and away. So what I want you guys to do, you've just pushed yours down and away, so everybody lift your clay up, lift it up, and then push it down and away from you again. So up, and then do the same thing, down again. Yep, perfect. If you've noticed that your clay is getting really long this way, all I'm going to do, flip it over, and same thing, down and away from me. Down and away. Yep. Good. Yep. Keep going. Down and away. My clay is really long again, so I'm going to flip it another time. Down and away. If you've noticed that your clay is starting to stick to your board, what I want you to do is pick it up and move it to a dry spot on your board that doesn't have any water and continue going. Keep on wedging. Good, so everybody, why do we need to wedge clay again? To get the air out, and what else?
Dry it out.
To dry it out, which would be?
Oh, making it beauty.
Making it have an even consistency. Perfect. Yep. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is push it into kind of a workable shape. So it's not like super flat, just kind of a ball. Not quite a ball. We'll kind of fix it into a ball, just so you can grab it in one hand. Okay, what we're going to do, without making Mrs. Brand's class think that there's a huge thunderstorm outside, very lightly, we're going to take the palms of our hands and tap our clay into a ball. That's a little too loud. A little lighter. The reason we're tapping our clay instead of rolling it into a ball, watch what happens when I roll it. Is that a ball?
No.
No, that's kind of like a top shape. So with our Mylines, they were small enough that we could roll a piece of clay and make it into a ball, but these are bigger pieces, so that's why we give it a little tap. Once you've tapped it into kind of a ball or a cube, whatever kind of shape, set it down on your board. Everybody's is looking pretty good, so I think you could all set it down. Good job. Okay, with your clay, we are going to split it into 3 pieces. This first piece, I'm just going to take off a little chunk about this big. This is what we will use for our stem and decoration after we make our pumpkins. So with your clay, go ahead, grab a small chunk off, about this size. Yep. Maybe a little bit bigger. Nolan, perfect. A little bit bigger. Yours is good. Good. Yeah, if you need me to check size, good.
Good?
Yours are good. Perfect. Yep. Maybe a little bit bigger. Good. Yep, you guys are all looking good. Okay, hold that piece of clay up in the air. Your small piece, put it in your Ziploc bag. If you don't have your Ziploc bag, you'll need it. So do we. Okay. Okay, once you've got that, you're gonna then pick up your big ball of clay. And with this ball of clay, we're gonna split it in half as evenly as we can. So split it into 2 sections as evenly as you can. They don't have to be perfect, but you want that pretty close. So split it into 2 chunks that are pretty equal. Yep, split it into 2 fairly equal chunks. Perfect. Yep, perfect. Okay, everybody hold your 2 chunks of clay in the air. Let me see that everybody split it in half. Put one of those down on your board. We're just gonna work with one. With this one, you're gonna start doing your little patty pats and make it into a nice round ball. So if you kind of feel an area that's like sticking out really far, give that spot a little tap. Add it into a nice ball. If you have major like creases or overlaps, you can smooth those out. Give them a nice smooth. Okay, once you have done that to 1 chunk of clay, you're gonna set that down, grab your other one and do the same exact thing. Pat it into a round shape, smooth out any major creases, and then set it down on your board. Because this clay is fairly wet, because we recycled it, it's still super wet, you don't need to add any water to it. So if you have any major creases, just give it a little pressure with your finger and smooth it out. You don't need to add any water to it. We might later down in the road, but not right now. Yes. What? Yeah, but what I want you to do instead is just add a little pressure. Slowly, I promise I don't want you to add any more water. It'll cause a world of hurt for yourself. Okay, once you've done that to both of your circles of clay, set them down on the board. So you should have 2 round shapes of clay sitting on your board. Okay, this is where we're going to start to get into our actual pinch pot making. There we go. So, what I need you guys to do is watch. You are watching, you are not doing this to your clay. You're watching me. I need everybody to hold up with the hand that you write with, your thumb. Give me a thumbs up with the hand that you write with. Perfect. With that thumb, I want you to try and make it as straight as possible. So if you have like a hitchhiker's thumb, I kind of do, try and make it as straight as you can. I take a little brain power. Okay, this is how we're gonna make our entry into our clay and how we're gonna make it into like a bowl shape, okay? So with my thumb, I'm gonna take my ball of clay. Remember, you're not doing this yet. I will give you time to do this. You're just watching. With my thumb, I'm going to, as center as I can, with my ball of clay, I'm gonna stick my thumb into my ball of clay, okay? The thing that's gonna trip you guys up a little bit, we want the bottom of our clay to be as close to 1/4 of an inch as possible. How many of you guys know off the top of your head how big 1/4 of an inch is? Yeah, you can kind of tell a little bit, but how many of you could tell like the thickness of your clay, if that's 1/4 of an inch or not? I'll give you a couple tips and tricks. So one, we kind of talked about already, the thickness of your pencil. A pencil is about 1/4 of an inch thick. We talked about hang loose. Do you guys remember talking about hang loose? Your pinky is a little bit bigger than 1/4 of an inch, but it's pretty dang close. So when we talk about hang loose, we talk about how you don't want your clay to be thinner than your pinky or thicker than your thumb. That's when we talk about our hang loose sign, okay? To be able to tell when the bottom of your clay, so this area of our bowl, you guys over there, to be able to tell when that is about 1/4 of an inch thick, remember I stuck my thumb into my clay and I'm gonna push my thumb into my clay and then I'm gonna turn it over and look at the bottom. When I look at the bottom, as I'm pushing, it will start to move and crack. You guys see? It's kind of cracking a little bit. You see it's cracking? You guys see the cracks? When it starts to move and crack, that's about how you know that it's 1/4 of an inch thick. You see how it's cracking at the bottom? Cracking throughout this whole process is super normal. We're stretching the clay so it's gonna crack, okay? So what I want you you guys to do right now, grab one of your circles of clay, your thumb, and in the center as you can, stick your thumb straight into your clay. It takes a little bit of hand strength, so push it, and now everybody stop and flip it towards you, and then keep pushing your thumb into it. Watch for those cracks on the bottom of your clay. Watch for it to start to move. Mm-hmm. Stop. Yep. Keep it on your thumb. Everybody, once you've started to see movement on the bottom of your clay, give me a thumbs up with your clay on your thumb. Perfect. Okay, with that, we're gonna stretch it wide enough so that we can fit both of our thumbs in here. So to do that, I'm gonna stick my thumb into my hand, and I'm gonna roll it.
Yes, I know.
So I'm just rolling it, and I'm only rolling it wide enough to fit both of my thumbs in there. So as you're rolling, you can push your thumb into your palm a little bit, and roll it until you can fit both of your thumbs in there. When you can fit both of your thumbs, perfect, Talon. When you can fit both of your thumbs, hold it up. It's like a bird. Perfect. Okay. Everybody got that? Both your thumbs can fit in there? Perfect. Once you've done that, I want you to take it off of your thumbs and set it onto your board with the round circle that we just made down. The reason we want to set it down that way with the rim part on our board is because if I set it this way, it's going to make the bottom of my bowl flat, and we don't want that. We want it to be nice and round. So throughout this whole next process, I don't want to see any of your little bowls on the board. They've got to be in your palm, okay? But for right now, I want you to set it down, rim down onto the board. Okay, now I want everybody, show me your thumb again. Now, high five, and your fingers, glue them together. Nice. Now, when you're being really bratty to your mom, and she talks to you, and you back talk her, and you go, blah, 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 I want you to do that. Blah, blah, blah. That's the motion that we're making when we make a pinch off. So, when we do this, you're not gonna touch your clay yet. You're still just watching me, following along. My thumb is inside my clay, and I'm gonna make my blah blah hand with my thumb inside my clay, okay? That's how we're gonna pinch it. When we start pinching, I want you guys to focus towards this bottom part of your clay. We're gonna circle it around kind of like a spiral. So we're gonna start at the top and spiral down and around, okay? As we do this, I want you to ignore the very top. So this very top part, don't touch it, don't pinch it, don't squish it, okay? So if you look at these pictures, what do you notice about this top edge part? Yeah, it's really thick right there. So that means they're pinching down on this part and leaving this top part alone. So don't pinch the rim, we're pinching down at the bottom. So everybody put your thumb out, put your thumb into your clay with your blah blah hand. And as we're pinching, my fingers are gonna kind of cup over towards the end, the top of my clay here. I want you guys to start pinching using this part of your hand, this part of your fingers. You're not using the tips of your fingers. This is really important for those of you with nails. We're using this part of our hand. That part's a little more flat and we can get it a little more even. So when we squish, when we pinch our clay, I'm gonna move my clay around and around as I'm pinching, and I'm gonna try and overlap where I just pinched. So you're pinching just a little bit at a time, moving your clay to the side, giving it a little pinch, a little squeeze, moving it, a little squeeze, moving it around. I want you guys to focus on this part of your clay. So like right up here, that's where you're pinching. We will then move down into the next part, but pinch like right here at the top. If you're noticing while you're pinching that one spot's really thin, don't pinch, just move it along to the next spot. Give it a pinch. Oh, it's really thin right there. I'm gonna move it and pinch right here instead. If If it's really thick, give it a little pinch. If it's thin, skip over it, move to the next spot. Once you've gone around your bowl once, I want you to then move your hand up a little bit to this part of your clay. So up towards the top, not at the rim, up a little bit further, like we're spiraling up out of the bowl. And same thing. If you're noticing like, oh, this part of my bowl is really thick, I can feel it, give it a squeeze, move to the next part. That part's thin, don't squeeze that, move to the next part. Okay? Try and make your walls nice and even. Keep pinching. In a minute, I'm gonna come around and we're gonna check everybody's to see how we're doing. But at this point, we're just squeezing. If your rim is starting to crack a little bit, mine is starting to crack, remember that's normal. We're stretching the clay. Take your thumb or your finger and smooth it out. Remember, we're not adding water yet. If, as you're smoothing, those cracks just won't go away, add a little more pressure. Keep going. Sometimes you need to add a lot of pressure to pinch that, or to smooth that crack out. If it's still not working, then you can dip your fingers in the water and add a little bit. Oh, which is perfect. Yeah, which is good. You're doing great. Okay, I want you guys to now is the time that you can kind of focus on that rim a little bit. If your rim is super thick, go around just once and pinch that into a nice thickness. Remember, how thick do we want this clay to be? 1/4 of an inch, your pinky thick, or a pencil thickness. Give that a pinch, maybe smooth the rim a little bit, find your cracks, smooth them out. I'm gonna come around and start checking to see where we're at with everybody's.
Good. So right here, the bottom is a little thick, so I want you to kind of focus on pinching that part. Up here, this part, and hold it perfect. And then maybe try to smooth those cracks a little bit. Perfect. Right there. Yeah, smooth out those cracks. Okay?
Speed it up. You've done it nice and even, you're ready 90% top.
This right here.
So just push it, it's nice and even.
Okay.
Your bottom, so your top's a little good, your bottom's a little bit.
Right down. Okay.
You're thinking pencil thickness. Yeah, just go ahead and go around. So dip your fingertips in the water and add some water to it. Okay, like this. So we're just gonna go ahead and add. Just rub in the water. So shiny as the sun. Okay. So just rub some water. Your thickness is perfectly pinched out.
And then our next step
You're just kind of absorbing that water.
And don't sit it down on your arm, and you sit it on the side. And as we
She'll go over the next thing. You can have fingertips and rub over there. She'll go over that. So yeah, it will be fine.
Okay. Let's see yours. So I would not mess with the nails down here at all. So just focus on smoothing out that rim.
Yeah, yours is
Nice
perfect.
and smooth, okay?
It's not gonna dent in, it's.
Perfect, so same thing, so you have a couple of thick spots, so like right here is a little thick, I'm gonna push there. On this side, it's really thin, so I'm gonna ignore right here. There's that part, and then come back.
You can go around the bridge one more time.
And both of you guys, I wouldn't add any more water to yours.
Nice and even. That's good.
So
Same thing, you pitch one more time around, nice and slow.
Find any big
I know,
spots.
knowing how much to go
Then
feels good.
Okay.
I'm just gonna, we haven't talked about this, but because we're gonna be putting two pitch ponds together, if you'll kind of flare out your top, it will help more with tomorrow's stuff. So just pitch kind of a little bit, thinking about flaring that out.
Smooth out your rim a little bit.
That's like perfect.
Where did she, has she talked to anyone?
Did she already get you guys?
Say we want me to do a check though. I can do a check.
She already checked you guys?
Yours is just on the wet side, it's just kind of, so I put in my hand here to support it and then my thumb, so it's, I'm like doing this. So I go on top and then side, side, and I move to the next area. It's really not going to matter because we're gonna put it together, so don't like, I love this project because it hides all of the beginner, like, mishaps and that happen and it'll be fine. Oh, that's like perfect. Here's where it is. Same perfect. You're a little on the thin side, so remember that tomorrow. This is just extra. So, you just need it to stop. But it's going to actually pop in and you just push it back. It's gonna frustrate me.
Awesome. Okay, you guys, so after we did our check, what we're gonna do now, we're gonna smooth the inside of our bowl. So, having it in my palm, I'm gonna put it on its side so I can see the opening. So the opening is facing me. I'm gonna have it so it's facing you guys so you can see what I'm doing, but when you hold yours, I want it to face you, okay? So I'm holding it to the side. I'm gonna take that same thumb, and as I'm rolling my bowl in my hand, I'm gonna smooth my thumb against it. So I'm smoothing my thumb against the palm of my hand as I'm turning my bowl. Those of you guys that we were talking about it being thin, do it very lightly. Yeah, keep going. Keep smoothing it. Once you've done that side to side motion, I want you guys to then do it up and down. So I'm doing that same thing with my thumb. I'm just moving up and down the walls, okay? This is compressing your clay. When we made our slabs, you guys remember when we talked about compressing your clay? So what does it mean to compress our clay? Remember?
Oh, it's like the Velcro where the things go.
Kind of, almost. Yeah, Reese? Yes, exactly, like the deck of cards. So what we just did, we squoze our clay and we like stretched it out. So that deck of cards is kind of pulling apart from each other, and that makes our clay super weak. So when we compress it, we push it together so they're nice and tight together, and that helps your clay from cracking while it's drying. So that's why it's so important that we smooth the inside and the outside of our clay. Perfect. After you've smoothed the inside, with your thumb, try and smooth a little bit of the outside as well. So if you have any major cracks on the outside, smooth those out. We are going to go over this with a metal rib, which will make it even more smooth. But try and get any major ones out. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be perfect right now. We will fix it. If your rim has started to grow any cracks, go ahead and smooth those out as well. Good. Once you're at a good stopping point, I need everybody to put their bowl down, rim side on your board. Then I need everybody to grab a paintbrush. With your paintbrush, you're gonna dunk it in your water and paint a big spot of water onto your board. I'll hold mine up so you can see. Painted a big spot of water onto my board. Doesn't have to be perfect, just has to be a spot of water on the board. When we think about wedging, what was the point of wedging on our canvas board? What does the canvas do? Yeah, it sucks the water out of our clay. So we don't really want any of the water to be sucked out of the rim of our bowl because that'll make it crack. So we paint the canvas with a little bit of water. So when we put our bowl rim side down on our canvas onto the water, it doesn't suck out any more water into the rim. Got it? Okay. So everybody should have their bowl rim side down on their spot of water. Okay, after you do that, everybody needs to reach back in your tool bucket and grab a smooth metal rib. Once you have a smooth metal rib, hold it up. A smooth metal rib doesn't have what? Spikes, exactly. What does a spiky metal rib, what is that called?
Serrated.
A serrated metal rib, perfect. So everybody needs to have a smooth metal rib. One of the sides of your metal rib is curved, one is straight. Everybody needs to have the curved side up. Curved side up. And then I need everybody, remember when we talked about our piece fingers? When we did ribs, when we did our slabs? Same thing. You're gonna hold it, you're gonna pinch it with your piece fingers and your thumb. When I do that, I'm gonna then bend my rib so it's like an N. So you see how it's made an N now? I sometimes hold it with all my fingers to have a little more stability, but you gotta make sure you have that bend in there. Okay, as we do this, you're gonna use this smooth part of our bent rib, okay? We're going to take our bowls, you're gonna watch, and then I'll tell you to go. With my bent rib in my bowl, I'm gonna take it, I'm actually gonna do this in my hand, it's easier. I'm gonna take it, put it on the side opposite from me, and bring it back towards myself. Bring it back towards myself. So remember, I'm using this flat part of my rib, and I'm smoothing out my bowl, bringing it back towards myself. Then I can turn it and do the same thing to another side. So go ahead and do that to yours. You don't really need a ton of pressure when you do this. We're just smoothing, making sure all those cracks leave. Turning, smoothing the other side. Over and over again. We're gonna do this a bunch of times. So you're probably gonna go around your bowl probably about a dozen times. Yes.
There's
Not another metal rib? Here you go. Do you guys need a metal rib? Okay, everybody hold up your now smoothed bowl. Hold it up so I can see. Let me see them. Hold them up. Perfect. Good job, you guys. Now you have created one half of your pumpkin. So tomorrow, when we come back, we will be repeating this process another time with our other ball of clay to make 2 bowls that we will then stick together. So what I need you guys to do now is take your bowl of clay. Remember, the rim side always goes down. Why do we want the rim side always down, facing down? Why?
So that we don't make the...
Yes, so that you don't make the top flat. We want the top to stay round. So with that in mind, go ahead and put your bowl into your bag, rim side down. Put your other ball of clay back into your bag as well. Once you've done that, we are good to go ahead and start cleaning up.